want to know how to hit a home run when it comes to creating your estate plan? Well, then you're in luck. My name is Emily, and I'm the founder and head attorney over here at the Napier Law Firm. I came to an actual baseball field. I wanted to give you the ultimate visual. So I'm going to give you 3 tips. They're going to represent first, second, and third base in terms of what you need to make sure that you have in place when you create your estate plan. So number 1, you want to make sure that you've got an asset sheet. I cannot stress the importance of this enough, but with the asset sheet, you're going to sit down and you're going to look at all the bank accounts, retirement accounts, and all the different assets that you own. You're going to put them in a column. You're also going to mark out who is the beneficiary of those, who currently owns them, and give any details that might be helpful to someone in the event of your incapacity or death in terms of account numbers or how to access those accounts. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a lot of information, but there are 2 things that I want to share with you regarding why that's important. Number 1, in Georgia, there is currently $1 billion in the state's unclaimed property account. $1 billion. That's a lot of assets that people worked really hard to gain that could have gone to their families, but because their family did not know that those assets existed and they're passing, the state ended up getting ownership of those. Now, the second thing is I have experienced this on a personal level, and when my father passed away, we didn't have any idea of exactly what he owned, what bank accounts he had, and we are still 2 years later actually dealing with a tad bit of a mess in terms of some property that looks like he is the rightful owner of it, but we have some other people saying he either gifted it to them or they purchased it from him, and so we're still having to wade through that, and we can't close out his estate. Now, number 2 is if you have minor children at home, you want to make sure that you have a kids protection plan included in your estate plan. So sometimes we'll see that clients maybe have a will in place and they have named a guardian, but they figured that that was enough to make sure their kids were legally protected, and it's not. In the event of an emergency, if the police show up at your house, maybe you have a minor that's babysitting your children, the police could take your children into protective services until they can sift through who is the rightful legal guardian of your children. So by having a kids protection plan in place where you actually have documents that are outlining who the short-term guardians are for your children, the long-term guardians, and making sure that those guardians also have copies of those with instructions from you, so that if something happens, they can easily get your children, and your children aren't taken into protective services, and again, they are kept in the care of someone who you know loves them and is going to keep them safe. Now, the third thing when it comes to creating an estate plan that really just knocks it out of the park is you want to make sure that you're not just considering your tangible assets. Well, yes, that's an important element. You also want to make sure that you are taking into account intangible assets as well. So let's say, for example, you're leaving behind $1 million for each of your children. If your children receive that money and don't have any sort of guidance from you in terms of values that were important or what you would really like for them to do with that money, but what tends to happen is people don't think about making sure they're leaving behind videos, making sure they're leaving behind letters for their loved ones. And so again, if we give the example of a child, let's say they hit 18 and they get $1 million given to them. I guarantee you they're not going to spend that money in the way that you would have intended or would have wanted them to do. So those are the 3 main things. So just to recap, 1 is you want to make sure that you've got an asset sheet included in your estate plan. Number 2, you want to make sure that you have mapped out and you have listed the guardians, short-term, long-term guardians, that you have instructions for them as well. And that third thing is you want to make sure that you have, or I should say the third base, is you want to make sure that you have also mapped out and left behind intangible assets as well. So things like doing videos or leaving letters for your children. Now, because I told you I'm going to help you hit a home run, I'm going to give you a bonus one. And that's that when you're looking at your assets, you want to make sure that the beneficiaries that you've named on things like your life insurance policy or your retirement accounts actually align with what you have listed in your will. Because if not, you could have an issue there. And if that is something that you're thinking, okay, my mind is a little bit blown and you want me to go into more detail, I have some other videos I can send you, or I would love to encourage you to set up a 15-minute call with me. It's completely free. What we can do is we can discuss what you have in place right now, and then we can see if it would be a good fit to take that next step and set you up for a family wealth planning session with me. So I hope that you found this video helpful. I definitely want you to make sure that you have hit it out of the park, you've hit a home run when it comes to creating the ultimate estate plan to give you peace of mind and to make sure that your family and loved ones are protected when you pass. So go ahead, click that link below, grab a spot for that 15-minute call, and I look forward to connecting with you.